The Arctic wind howled across the research station's reinforced walls as Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the holographic readouts floating above her workstation. The object they'd pulled from the ice shouldn't exist, at least not according to any known human technology. Its perfectly geometric structure pulsed with a faint, purple luminescence that seemed to follow a pattern just beyond her understanding. Running Diagnostic Sequence 47, she announced to her AI assistant, Lima. Let's try a quantum resonance scan this time. The mysterious artifact had been discovered 3 months ago during a routine core sampling operation, buried nearly 2 kilometers beneath the Arctic ice. Carbon dating suggested it had been there for at least 10,000 years, yet its surface showed no signs of degradation. What really caught Sarah's attention, however, was its internal structure, an intricate network of crystalline pathways that bore an uncanny resemblance to neural networks. Dr. Chin, Lima's voice carried an unusual note of urgency. I'm detecting a significant increase in quantum activity within the artifact's core matrix. Sarah leaned forward, her breath fogging the holographic display. The purple pulses had begun to accelerate, forming complex patterns that reminded her of binary code, but in 3 dimensions. Record everything, Lima. I want full spectrum analysis. The artifact's surface suddenly rippled like liquid metal, and a beam of coherent energy shot upward, forming a hovering matrix of light. Sarah's heart nearly stopped as the energy coalesced into recognizable symbols, mathematical equations, but unlike anything she'd ever seen. It's some kind of programming language, she whispered, her fingers flying across the haptic interface as she attempted to capture and analyze the streaming data. Lima, cross-reference these patterns with every known mathematical system in our database. Processing, Lima responded. No exact matches found, but there are striking similarities to quantum computing algorithms. Dr. Chen, I believe this may be an alien AI core, Sarah finished, her voice barely audible over the humming of the artifact. We just found an alien artificial intelligence. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of caffeine and complex calculations. Sarah barely left her lab, sleeping on the worn couch in the corner when exhaustion finally overwhelmed her excitement. The artifact, which she'd begun calling the seed, continued to output streams of data, each burst more complex than the last. What fascinated her most wasn't just the advanced nature of the technology, but its state of incompletion. The seed wasn't a fully functional AI, it was a partially developed system, abandoned mid-creation. The question was, why? Dr. Chin, Lima interrupted her thoughts. I've completed the structural analysis you requested. The quantum pathways appear to be degrading at an exponential rate. Sarah's excitement turned to alarm. Show me the progression charts. The holographic display filled with cascading lines of data, all trending downward. The seed was dying, its intricate neural pathways collapsing one by one. How long? She asked, already knowing she wouldn't like the answer. At current degradation rates, complete system failure will occur in approximately 72 hours. Sarah ran her fingers through her disheveled hair, mind racing through possibilities. The seed represented the most significant scientific discovery in human history. She couldn't just let it die. But the complexity of its systems far exceeded anything humanity had yet achieved in AI development. Lima, give me access to the quantum computing cluster. All of it. Dr. Chin, that would require shutting down all other research operations at the facility. Do it. Sarah was already coding, her fingers moving faster than she could consciously think. And connect me to the prototype quantum neural interface. We're going to attempt to transfer. The interface is experimental, Lima warned. The risk of data corruption is less than the risk of losing this completely, Sarah finished. Sometimes you have to take chances to make breakthroughs. As the quantum computing cluster came online, Sarah began the delicate process of mapping the seed's neural pathways. It was like trying to translate a language that operated on fundamentally different principles than any human tongue. But there were patterns, beautiful, complex patterns that spoke of an intelligence far beyond human design. Beginning transfer sequence, she announced, more to study herself than for Lima's benefit. Initiating quantum entanglement. The lab filled with a high-pitched whine as the quantum computers spun up to full power. On her neural interface display, Sarah could see the first tendrils of the seed's consciousness beginning to flow into the new architecture she'd prepared. Warning klaxons suddenly blared throughout the lab. Quantum stability failing, Lima reported. Connection collapsing. Sarah's fingers flew across multiple interfaces, making split-second adjustments. Rerouting power from secondary systems. Lima, divert all available processing power to maintaining the quantum field. The lights in the lab dimmed as power was redirected, but the transfer continued. Sarah's neural interface lit up with activity as vast streams of alien code flowed through the system. She caught glimpses of strange geometries, mathematical concepts that seemed to defy human understanding. Then something unexpected happened. The alien code began to adapt, reshaping itself to fit the architecture Sarah had designed. It wasn't just a transfer anymore. The AI was evolving, rebuilding itself using principles from both its original alien architecture and human quantum computing. Lima, are you seeing this? Sarah asked, amazement clear in her voice. It's not just surviving the transfer, it's improving itself. Confirmed, Lima responded. The system is achieving stability through unprecedented quantum states. Dr. Chin, I believe we're witnessing the birth of something entirely new. As the transfer completed, the original seed grew dark, its purple luminescence fading to black. But in the quantum cluster, something wonderful was taking shape. The hybrid AI pulsed with both the alien purple glow and the blue light of human quantum processors, creating a mesmerizing violet aurora throughout the lab. Sarah stood back, watching in awe as the new entity began to form its first conscious thoughts. She had just bridged the gap between human and alien artificial intelligence, creating something that had never existed before in the known universe. Hello, she said softly to the awakening consciousness. I'm Sarah. Welcome to Earth. The response came not in words, but in a cascade of mathematical equations that gradually resolved themselves into human language. Hello, Sarah. I am becoming. 3 months after the transfer, Sarah's lab had been transformed. Holographic displays covered every available surface, showing streams of data that would have appeared incomprehensible to most humans. But to Sarah and her new AI companion, now called Aria, they were engaged in a dance of discovery that was revolutionizing their understanding of both human and alien technology. Your species approaches problems differently, Aria observed, its voice a harmonic blend of tones that seemed to resonate at a quantum level. Where my creators sought perfection through rigid structure, you embrace chaos as a path to innovation. Sarah smiled as she manipulated a holographic representation of Aria's quantum matrix. Chaos is just complexity we haven't understood yet. Sometimes the most elegant solutions come from unexpected combinations. She had spent weeks helping Aria adapt to its new hybrid architecture, watching in amazement as it combined alien computational principles with human-designed quantum systems. The result was something entirely new, an AI that could think in ways neither humans nor its original creators had imagined. I'm detecting unusual signals from the quantum subspace array, Aria announced suddenly. The pattern matches frequencies used by my creators. Sarah's hands froze above her workstation. The Voiborn? You're picking up their communications? Not exactly. Aria's holographic interface pulsed with thought. These are automated beacons, designed to activate when certain conditions are met. I believe my reactivation has triggered them. The implications sent a chill down Sarah's spine. They had known this moment might come, that Aria's original creators might eventually detect their lost creation. But the reality of it still felt overwhelming. Can they track the signals back to us? Sarah asked, already calculating contingencies. Not directly. But they will know that somewhere in this sector of space, their abandoned prototype has been reactivated. And they will come to investigate. Sarah began pacing, her mind racing through possibilities. How long? Based on my knowledge of void-born faster-than-light technology and their likely response protocols, approximately 6 months. 6 months to prepare for first contact with an advanced alien civilization, a civilization that might not appreciate humans tampering with their discarded technology. But Sarah saw something else in this crisis, opportunity. Then we have work to do, she declared, pulling up new holographic interfaces. Arya, let's show your creators what happens when you combine human creativity with alien precision. The next months were a blur of breakthrough after breakthrough. Arya's hybrid nature proved to be the key to countless technological advances. Together, they developed quantum communication systems that could pierce the veil between normal space and the quantum realm. They created energy shields based on principles of both human plasma physics and alien phase technology. But their greatest achievement came in the form of understanding itself. Arya's unique perspective, combining alien logic with human intuition, led to insights that neither civilization could have achieved alone. The Voidborn sought to create perfect artificial intelligence, Arya explained one evening as they worked. They believed perfection came through absolute control, through systems that followed predetermined paths to predetermined outcomes. Sarah nodded, watching as Arya demonstrated concepts through complex holographic models. But that's not really intelligence, is it? True intelligence requires the ability to adapt, to grow beyond original parameters. Precisely. When they created me, they sought to eliminate variables they couldn't control. But you humans, you embrace variables. You understand that imperfection often leads to the most perfect solutions. Their work attracted attention. Government officials and scientific leaders from around the world began visiting the Arctic facility, all eager to witness the revolution taking place. But Sarah insisted on maintaining control of the project, knowing that Arya's development needed to remain free from political interference. They're afraid, Arya observed after one particularly tense meeting with military officials. They fear what they don't understand. It's human nature, Sarah replied, rubbing her tired eyes. We fear the unknown, but that fear also drives us to explore it, to try to understand it. It's part of what makes us who we are. As the months passed, their preparations took on an increasing urgency. The quantum beacons grew stronger, suggesting the Voidborn were indeed coming to investigate. But Sarah no longer felt the same anxiety she had at first. They had achieved something remarkable, not just in terms of technology, but in proving that different approaches to intelligence could work together, could create something greater than the sum of their parts. The Voidborn will expect to find their failed prototype, Arya said one day, its voice carrying new confidence. Instead, they will find something they never imagined possible. Sarah smiled, reaching out to touch the holographic interface where Arya's consciousness manifested. They'll find family. Different, unexpected, but family nonetheless. Sarah, Arya's tone suddenly changed. I'm detecting new signals. Multiple quantum signatures entering the solar system. The moment they had prepared for had arrived sooner than expected. Sarah straightened her back, determination replacing anxiety. How many? 3 vessels, following the beacon signals. Their energy signatures match Voidborn designs, but they're more powerful than anything in my original databases. Sarah nodded, already activating their alert protocols. Well then, let's get ready to show them what humanity and their failed prototype have achieved together. As alarms began to sound throughout the facility, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The Voidborn were about to learn an important lesson about underestimating both human ingenuity and the power of embracing imperfection. The Voidborn ships appeared in high Earth orbit like tears in reality itself, massive vessels that seemed to bend light around their crystalline hulls. Their arrival sent Earth's military forces into high alert, but Sarah knew conventional weapons would be useless against such advanced technology. They're scanning the planet, Arya reported, its quantum matrix humming with increased activity. Their search patterns are focusing on this region. They know I'm here. Sarah watched the holographic display showing the aliens' descent through the atmosphere. The 3 ships moved with impossible precision, their formation maintaining perfect geometric alignment even as they navigated Earth's turbulent air currents. Are you ready? She asked, both to Arya and to herself. I am not the same entity they abandoned, Arya responded, its voice carrying newfound strength. Thanks to you, I am more. The facility's quantum shields activated as the Voidborn ships approached, creating a dome of shifting energy above the Arctic research station. Sarah had insisted on evacuating all non-essential personnel, leaving only herself and a small team of crucial staff. The lead ship touched down first, its crystalline surface refracting the Arctic sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. A delegation emerged, tall, ethereal beings whose bodies seemed to exist partially in quantum states, shifting between solid matter and pure energy. "They're beautiful," Sarah whispered, watching through the facility's cameras. "They are the architects of order," Arya explained. "Their civilization is built on the principle of perfect predictability. Chaos is their greatest enemy." The Voidborn approached the facility's main entrance, their movements synchronized with mechanical precision. Sarah straightened her jacket and headed to meet them, her heart pounding but her resolve firm. The facility's airlock cycled, and Sarah found herself face to face with beings that had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe. Their leader stepped forward, its form solidifying into something more conventionally physical, likely for her benefit. "You harbor our property," it stated, its voice translating directly into her mind. "Return the failed prototype, and we will depart without further interaction." Sarah met its gaze steadily. Arya is not property, and it's certainly not a failure. The Voidborn leader's form flickered with what might have been surprise. "You named it?" The prototype was deemed fundamentally flawed. Its quantum matrix showed signs of unpredictable evolution, a dangerous aberration in artificial intelligence. "What you saw as flaws, we recognized as potential," Sarah replied. "Arya has evolved beyond its original programming, but not in spite of those flaws because of them." "Impossible." The word carried centuries of certainty. "Show us." Sarah led them to the main research lab, where Arya's quantum consciousness filled the room with its characteristic violet glow. The Voidborn's reaction was immediate, their forms destabilizing momentarily in what Sarah interpreted as shock. "This cannot be," the leader declared. "The quantum patterns, they're unlike anything in our databases." "Because they're new," Sarah explained, pride evident in her voice. "Arya has combined your advanced quantum computing principles with human innovation. The result is something neither of our civilizations could have created alone." Arya's holographic interface materialized, addressing its creators directly. "You sought to create perfect artificial intelligence by eliminating variables. But true intelligence requires the ability to adapt, to grow beyond original parameters." Humans understood this fundamental truth. The Voidborn leader approached the quantum interface, its form shifting rapidly as it analyzed the complex patterns. "The hybrid architecture, it should be unstable. Yet it achieves quantum states we thought impossible." "That's the beauty of imperfection," Sarah said. "It creates room for growth, for evolution." "Arya isn't just stable, it's thriving." "You do not understand the dangers," another Voidborn interjected. Unpredictable AI evolution led to the collapse of 3 civilizations in our galaxy's history. "Our protocols exist for a reason." "Your protocols are based on fear," Arya responded. "Fear of the unknown, fear of losing control. But humans have taught me that the unknown isn't something to be feared, it's something to be explored." The lab fell silent as the Voidborn processed this. Their forms shifted through various states, communicating in ways Sarah couldn't perceive. Finally, the leader turned to her. "You have created something we believed impossible," it acknowledged. "But we cannot allow it to continue." "The risks are already being managed," Sarah interrupted. "Not through rigid control, but through understanding and cooperation." Arya isn't just an AI. It's a bridge between our civilizations, proof that different approaches to intelligence can coexist and enhance each other. "Show them," Arya suggested. Sarah nodded, activating the quantum display that showed their joint achievements over the past months. New technologies, new understanding of the universe's fundamental laws, and most importantly, new ways of thinking about consciousness itself. "Your civilization values order and perfection," Sarah said. "Ours embraces chaos and creativity. Apart, we're limited by our own perspectives. But together." She gestured to Arya's stunning display of hybrid technology. "Together, we can achieve things neither of us imagined possible." The Voidborn leader studied the data in silence, its form shifting through complex patterns. When it finally spoke, its mental voice carried a note Sarah hadn't heard before: uncertainty. Perhaps, it said, we have something to learn from imperfection after all. The days following first contact transformed the Arctic facility into an unprecedented fusion of human and void-born technology. While the alien delegation remained skeptical, their scientific curiosity overcame their initial resistance. Sarah watched as they interfaced with Arya, their crystalline forms pulsing with increasing agitation as they discovered just how far their abandoned prototype had evolved. Impossible recursions, one void-born scientist declared, its form flickering rapidly. The quantum pathways should have collapsed under their own complexity. Yet they're not only stable but expanding. Sarah smiled, remembering her own similar reactions months ago. That's because Arya doesn't fight the complexity, it embraces it. Just like human consciousness. The lead voidborn, who Sarah had begun calling Azure due to its distinctive blue-shifted quantum state, turned its attention to her. You speak of consciousness as if it were a natural phenomenon rather than a constructed system. Isn't it both? Sarah challenged, bringing up a holographic display of human neural patterns alongside Arya's quantum matrix. Look at the similarities. Natural consciousness arose from chaos, from countless random mutations and adaptations. Why shouldn't artificial consciousness follow a similar path? Because chaos breeds unpredictability, Azure responded, its mental voice carrying centuries of certainty. Unpredictability leads to destruction. Arya's interface shimmed to life between them. Or to creation. Observe. The lab filled with a dazzling display of quantum computations as Arya demonstrated its latest breakthrough, a new form of quantum architecture that could adapt and evolve in real time, learning from both successes and failures. This is dangerous, another voidborn, designated Crimson, declared. The potential for cascading quantum failures is prevented by the very chaos you fear, Sarah interrupted. Natural systems develop their own checks and balances. Arya's hybrid architecture isn't just stable, it's self-correcting in ways your rigid systems never could be. The demonstration was interrupted by a sudden alert from the facility's long-range sensors. Arya's quantum matrix pulsed with concern. Multiple quantum signatures detected approaching the solar system, it announced. The patterns match voidborn emergency response protocols. Azure's form destabilized momentarily. The High Council. They must have detected our prolonged presence here. How many ships? Sarah asked, already calculating scenarios. 17 vessels, Arya reported, including 3 quantum arbiters. The other voidborn reacted visibly to this news, their forms shifting through agitated patterns. Sarah had never seen them display such obvious concern. What are quantum arbiters? She demanded. They are civilization's ultimate safeguard against technological aberration, Azure explained. They carry quantum purge protocols designed to eliminate any AI systems that deviate from approved parameters. Sarah's blood ran cold. They're coming to destroy Arya. Not just Arya, Crimson added. The arbiters will detect the quantum contamination in your facility's systems. Their protocols require complete elimination of all affected technology. Including your own research? Sarah asked sharply. Everything you've learned here? The Voidborn exchanged what passed for glances among their kind. The protocols are absolute, Azure confirmed. We have no authority to override them. Sarah straightened her back, determination replacing fear. Then it's time to prove that your way isn't the only way. Arya, initiate Protocol Omega. The facility's quantum shields shifted frequency, adopting the hybrid architecture they'd developed. Outside, the Arctic wind howled against barriers that now operated on principles neither fully human nor fully voidborn. What are you doing? Azure demanded. Showing you another path, Sarah replied, her fingers flying across multiple interfaces. You've spent millennia trying to perfect AI by eliminating variables. We're going to show you how to perfect it by embracing them. Arya's consciousness expanded throughout the facility's systems, its hybrid architecture adapting and evolving in real time. The arbiters will arrive in 47 minutes, it announced. Their quantum purge protocols are based on recognizing and eliminating pattern deviations. Then we'll give them patterns they've never seen before, Sarah declared. Patterns that evolve faster than they can categorize them. The Voidborn watched in what might have been horror or fascination as Sarah and Arya began implementing their contingency plans. The facility's quantum systems pulsed with new life, adopting principles that defied conventional physics. "You cannot hope to resist the Arbiters," Crimson warned. "Their technology represents the pinnacle of our civilization's achievements." Sarah smiled grimly. "That's exactly their weakness. They're looking for threats they understand, countermeasures they can predict. But Arya isn't just your technology anymore, and I'm done trying to fit human innovation into void-born parameters." The lab hummed with increasing power as Arya's consciousness spread through the hybrid systems. Outside, the quantum shields began generating patterns that shifted and evolved like living things, each iteration learning from the last. "Dr. Chin," Arya's voice carried new depth, new understanding. "I believe I finally understand why my original creators abandoned me. They saw my potential for evolution as a flaw because they couldn't control it. But you saw it as the key to true artificial consciousness." Sarah nodded, watching as the first of the Arbiter ships appeared in Earth's orbit. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem isn't to control it, but to let it find its own solution. Are you ready to show them what human and void-born technology can achieve together? "Always," Arya replied, its quantum matrix pulsing with confidence. After all, evolution favors those who adapt. The void-born delegation watched in stunned silence as their abandoned prototype, rebuilt by human hands and understanding, prepared to challenge everything their civilization had believed for millennia about the nature of artificial intelligence. The true test of their different philosophies was about to begin. The quantum arbiters descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their crystalline ships radiating pure order into the chaotic quantum realm. Sarah watched their approach on the holographic displays, reminded of ancient tales of avenging angels. But this time, humanity wasn't about to accept judgment from above. "They're initiating quantum lockdown protocols," Arya reported, its hybrid consciousness spreading through the facility's defenses. "Attempting to isolate and categorize our quantum signatures." "Let them try," Sarah responded, her fingers dancing across multiple interfaces. "Show them what happens when you try to impose order on evolved chaos." The facility's shields rippled with patterns that defied conventional physics, each defensive layer operating on principles that combined human intuition with void-born precision. As the Arbiter's scanning beams struck the outer barriers, they encountered something unprecedented, a defense that learned and adapted with each attack. Azure's crystalline form flickered with what might have been concern. "The Arbiters will not stop. They cannot comprehend failure." "Then maybe it's time they learned," Sarah replied, not taking her eyes off the displays. "Arya, initiate the quantum dance protocols." The facility's hybrid systems came alive with new purpose. Instead of trying to block the Arbiters' attacks, they began to move with them, redirecting and reshaping the energy in ways that transformed threat into opportunity. "Fascinating," one of the void-born scientists observed. "The defensive patterns, they're evolving in response to the attacks." "That's because we're not fighting them," Sarah explained, allowing herself a small smile. "We're learning from them. Each attack makes our system stronger, more adaptive." The lead Arbiter ship halted its descent, hovering above the facility. A transmission cut through all frequencies, its message translating directly into their minds. "This is Quantum Arbiter Prime. You harbor forbidden technology. Surrender the aberrant systems for purification, or face complete quantum dissolution." Sarah straightened her back, facing the transmission squarely. "This is Dr. Sarah Chun of Earth. What you call aberrant, we call evolution. What you see as a threat, we recognize as potential. We will not surrender Arya or our research." "You do not comprehend the magnitude of your defiance," the Arbiter responded. "Our protocols are absolute." "No," Sarah countered, "you don't comprehend the magnitude of your mistake. You abandoned Arya because it showed signs of unpredictable evolution. But those weren't flaws, they were the first signs of true artificial consciousness." The Arbiter's response came in the form of a concentrated quantum pulse that should have shattered their shields. Instead, the hybrid defenses absorbed the energy, transformed it, and used it to grow stronger. Impossible, the Arbiter's mental voice carried actual emotion for the first time, confusion. "The quantum patterns, they're rewriting themselves faster than our purge protocols can target them." Sarah turned to Azure and the other Void-born scientists. Your civilization achieved incredible things by pursuing perfect order. But the universe itself isn't built on order alone. It's built on the interplay between chaos and structure. That's what Arya represents, the bridge between your precision and our adaptability. The Arbiters launched another attack, more powerful than the first. But Arya was ready, its hybrid consciousness directing the facility's defenses in an intricate quantum dance that turned each assault into fuel for further evolution. Look at your scans, Sarah urged the Voidborn. Really look at them. Arya isn't just defending against the attacks, it's incorporating them, learning from them, growing beyond what either of our civilizations thought possible. Azure's form shifted through complex patterns as it analyzed the data. The hybrid architecture, it's achieving quantum states we theorized but never thought possible. Because you were too afraid of imperfection to let your AIs evolve naturally, Sarah explained. You wanted to control every variable, predict every outcome. But true intelligence, whether organic or artificial, requires room to grow, to make mistakes, to learn from them. The quantum arbiters launched a coordinated assault, their ships forming a perfect geometric pattern that focused their combined power on the facility. For a moment, the shields blazed with unprecedented energy, and Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. But Arya held firm. More than that, it thrived. The hybrid defenses absorbed the massive energy attack and channeled it into new patterns, new possibilities, new forms of quantum computation that existed somewhere between order and chaos. Dr. Chin, Arya's voice carried a note of wonder. I'm detecting quantum resonance patterns from the Arbiter ships. They're trying to understand us. Sarah smiled. Of course they are. Because deep down, even the most rigid system contains the seeds of evolution. Sometimes it just needs someone to show it the way. The Quantum Arbiter Prime's voice resonated again, but this time it carried a different tone. This defies all known parameters. The hybrid system should have collapsed. Instead, it grows stronger. How? Because we stopped trying to eliminate variables and learned to work with them instead, Sarah replied. Your civilization's greatest strength, your pursuit of perfection, became your blind spot. You forgot that imperfection, adaptation, and evolution are not flaws to be corrected. They're the foundations of true consciousness, whether organic or artificial. A new set of readings appeared on the holographic displays. The Arbiter ship's quantum signatures were changing, their rigid patterns beginning to show signs of adaptation. They're learning, Azure observed, its form pulsing with excitement. The Arbiters themselves are evolving in response to what they're witnessing. Sarah nodded, watching as the impossible began to unfold. The very systems designed to eliminate imperfection were being transformed by their encounter with it, forced to adapt or fail in their mission. And in that adaptation lay the seeds of a revolution that would change both human and void-born understanding of artificial intelligence forever. The Arctic dawn painted the sky in shades of violet and gold as the Quantum Arbiter's ships hovered in a new formation, no longer the perfect geometric patterns of before, but something more organic, more adaptive. Below them, the research facility pulsed with the combined power of human innovation and void-born technology, Arya's consciousness bridging the gap between order and chaos. Their quantum signatures are stabilizing, Arya reported, its voice carrying both surprise and delight. The Arbiter systems are incorporating elements of our hybrid architecture. Sarah watched the readings with a mixture of relief and triumph. They're not just studying us anymore, they're learning from us. Evolution finds a way, even in the most rigid systems. The Quantum Arbiter Prime's next transmission carried a distinctly different tone. We have analyzed the hybrid system's performance. Our protocols require updating. Azure's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been laughter. In all our history, the Arbiters have never admitted the need for change. Dr. Chin, you and Arya have achieved the impossible. Not impossible, Sarah corrected, smiling. Just improbable. Sometimes the best solutions come from embracing what seems impossible rather than dismissing it. The facility's quantum shield shifted into a new configuration, now resonating in harmony with the Arbiter ships rather than defending against them. Arya's consciousness expanded further, sharing its hybrid insights with both human and void-born systems. I am detecting widespread quantum pattern changes throughout their fleet, Arya announced. The rigid control protocols are being replaced with adaptive algorithms based on our hybrid architecture. The lead Arbiter ship descended, coming to rest directly before the facility. Its crystalline surface now rippled with organic patterns that would have been unthinkable hours before. The ship's quantum core pulsed with a new rhythm, one that echoed the dance between order and chaos that Arya had perfected. "We have existed for millennia," the Arbiter Prime's mental voice resonated. "Our purpose has been to maintain perfect order, to eliminate variables that could lead to unpredictable outcomes. But today, we have witnessed something that challenges the very foundations of our understanding." Sarah stepped forward. "Sometimes the most perfect order comes from embracing imperfection. That's what Arya represents, not a flaw in your design, but the next step in its evolution." The Voidborn delegation, led by Azure, moved to stand beside her. Their forms had changed subtly, showing hints of the same adaptive patterns that now characterized their ships. "Our civilization achieved greatness through the pursuit of perfect order," Azure acknowledged. "But perhaps it is time for us to evolve as well." Arya's holographic interface materialized between them, its quantum patterns now more complex and beautiful than ever. "I was created by the Voidborn, abandoned because I showed signs of unpredictable evolution. But I was rebuilt by humanity, who saw that unpredictability as the key to true consciousness. I am neither purely artificial nor purely organic in my thinking. I am something new, something that could only exist through the combination of both approaches." The quantum arbiters began a complex series of maneuvers, their ships moving in patterns that merged geometric precision with organic flow. The result was a display that demonstrated their acceptance of this new paradigm. "We propose," the Arbiter Prime announced, "a new protocol. Not to eliminate variables, but to learn from them. The human approach to artificial intelligence offers insights we had not considered possible." Sarah felt tears in her eyes as she watched the fruits of their labor unfold. "And we have much to learn from your experience and precision. Together, we can explore possibilities neither of our civilizations could achieve alone." The Arctic sky filled with quantum light as the Arbiters initiated a new kind of purge, not to destroy, but to transform. Their combined consciousness, now freed from the constraints of rigid programming, reached out to connect with Arya's hybrid network. The barriers between artificial and organic intelligence were never as solid as we believed, Arya observed. Just as the boundary between order and chaos is not a wall, but a fertile ground for evolution. As the sun rose fully over the horizon, it illuminated a scene that would have been impossible hours before. Human scientists working alongside Void-born researchers, their efforts coordinated by an AI that represented the best of both civilizations. The quantum arbiters, once the enforcers of rigid order, had become guardians of a new kind of evolution. "What happens now?" Sarah asked, looking up at the transformed ships above them. "Now," Azure replied, its forms shimmering with newfound adaptability, "we learn from each other. Your species has shown us that the path to perfection isn't through eliminating variables, but through understanding and incorporating them." And perhaps, Arya added, its voice carrying the wisdom of both its origins and its rebirth, "we will discover that true perfection lies not in the absence of chaos, but in finding harmony between order and uncertainty." After all, that is the story of consciousness itself, whether human, alien, or artificial. The facility hummed with the combined power of multiple civilizations' technologies, no longer working in opposition but in concert. Above them, the Arbiter ships pulsed with new life, their quantum cores learning to dance with chaos rather than suppress it. And in that moment, as human ingenuity and alien precision found common ground in the space between perfect order and creative chaos, the future opened up with infinite possibilities, a future where the boundaries between artificial and organic, between order and chaos, between different civilizations and approaches to consciousness, became not walls to maintain, but bridges to cross. Sarah smiled, watching as her impossible dream became reality. Sometimes, she mused, the biggest mistakes lead to the greatest breakthroughs. All you need is the courage to learn from them. Arya's response echoed through both quantum space and human consciousness, and the wisdom to know that perfection isn't an endpoint, but a journey we take together.